start getting up at 7 and being on the road at 7 in the morning.
It used to not be a problem.
I'm usually on the road with dogs at 7 in the morning. Yeah.
Big Ben,
Hi.
how's it going?
Well, real good. Fair warning, though. My wife's at softball. I've got both boys. There's a good chance Lincoln, when he goes to use the potty, disrobes completely. So there's a good chance you're going to see a nude 3-year-old by the end of the evening. And here's one of them. Luckily, he's wearing clothes. You're done, buddy.
I've been wearing clothes the whole day.
Oh,
Is that
good.
Lincoln? Is that Lincoln?
That's Hudson. Yeah, they keep
I
me
will-
on my toes.
At 6:45, I'm going to call the committee, the whole meeting to order for Tiffin City Council on April 19th, 2021. Does anyone have anything for the committee of the whole? Mayor Mons?
Yes, Mr. President, we do have a suspension request this evening, and that is Ordinance 2137. That ordinance has to do with the with a donation into the Parks and Recreation Department, but it also has to do with an emergency purchase that we need to make in the Parks Department. Their 11-plus-year-old tractor that they use to have all of the ball fields from football to baseball, et cetera, prepared for the season and for games, died. And it is to the point that it's not really fixable. It would be a substantial cost to fix it. So we're requesting that council under suspension this evening pass Ordinance 2137 so that the Parks Department can make an emergency purchase of this tractor. Because if they cannot, and we wait 2 weeks or longer, the baseball fields will not be in playing condition for our kids this year. So we had hoped to get through this year with the tractor and buy one next year. Unfortunately, it decided it was not going to cooperate. It's also the tractor that they use to plow snow on some of the bike paths and downtown sidewalks, and a lot of that salt corrosion. The undersides of it literally fell apart. The axle split in two. It's done. So I would respectfully ask council suspend and pass tonight Ordinance 2137 so that we can have our ball fields in a usable condition for our youth as soon as possible.
Ken, did you sign that?
Yes and no. I signed the original version.
I said Ken.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Yes, no, I didn't. This was new this afternoon or late last night, but no, I did not sign it.
Okay.
Mr.
Did anybody
President,
sign it?
yeah,
Huh?
Mr. President, Dan signed it because it was revised, and he came in and signed it with his other new legislation.
Dan did? Okay.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Is Dan here yet? Okay.
Yep.
Is he okay with the suspension?
Yep.
All right. Thank you. Anything else?
Yeah, Mr. President.
Law Director.
Yes, the other ordinance that it would be appropriate to pass under suspension this evening is Ordinance 21-38. This is the ordinance that accepts the annexation that was approved by the commissioners and filed by the Sisters of St. Francis. As you know, going through the process right now is a zoning ordinance for that property. And so to consider both of those at the same meeting, that other ordinance is 21-17. It's up for third reading this evening. And so it would be appropriate that both of them would be considered the same evening and then signed at the same time if approved. And then they would both go into effect 30 days from now. So I would recommend that ordinance 21-38 be suspended this evening. Also, Ann, if I could ask that if you could, during your report, mention that it's now 60 days has passed and that the petition that was on file with your office is now before City Council.
Did you sign that, Councilman Perry?
Yeah, I did.
Okay. Thank you. Anything else? Councilman Jones?
Thank you, Mr. President. And I don't know if this is a committee of the whole meeting subject or not, but Councilman Perry brought up last meeting about changing the agenda and possibly moving up the open mic, for lack of better explanation, up into the agenda, if you will. I went back and reviewed the ordinance 3.10, and it talks about the order of business, et cetera, and et cetera. Councilman Perry mentioned that Mr. Breidenbaugh, I believe it was back in 2019, waited 2.5 hours to hear discussion on whatever subject it was. 2 weeks ago, Mr. Horniman here, he waited, I think it was 2.5 hours patiently to get to the open mic or oral communications. I guess that's the correct term. And it didn't get sidetracked, but I think it's worth discussing between all 7 of us. And I'm not sure how we left it 2 weeks ago, but I'm glad to bring it up again. And if we have to have a committee of the whole and discuss this, I guess maybe that's the way to do it. But I just don't think we should let it go. Someone made the comment, and I don't know who, that it doesn't happen that often. Well, it happened in 2019. It happened in 2021. Both these gentlemen were more than patient. If we ignore this subject, to me, it sounds like we're just saying to the public, our business is more important than your input. If you have to wait 2 hours sometime down the road, so be it. And all we have to do is change our agenda and move this up, and whether we do it right at 8 o'clock every night or whatever, but I'll be glad to discuss it with the balance of the City Council. So I'll throw that out there.
Does anyone have any comments? Councilman Leopard?
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm really not in favor of moving the oral communications for the public up because if you take a look at the amount of business that we conduct prior to the oral communications, we have 7 committee reports. If we have committee reports, we have the mayor, the clerk of council, the director of finance, and director of laws reports, and a lot of discussion may come from one of those areas. And by putting oral discussion ahead of all that, you may be missing out on some oral communication business that may have to wait another 2 weeks.
Law Director?
Yeah, and I'd like to add too, that this order of business is not a random just of where do you put in items. As Steve explained, it's very thoughtful the way that order has been put in place, and it's been in place for decades. And the reason primarily is that council can take action can take action that impacts the community. And so it's important for that information to come to council right before they take action. And that's why it's right before the motions, resolutions, ordinances, the action items of city council. And it's also after the officers, the committees, all the officials have been able to provide information to council and the public, answer questions that they may have, and now allow, in response to that, to allow for any further questions or comments from the public in a very well-organized way, so that the meetings are allowed for the public to provide input in a very constructive way. So I would be very careful and cautious on your part if you wish to decide any changes to this, because I'm afraid what will happen is that people will make a comment at the very beginning of the meeting, if that's when you have it, and then based on information that is received during the meeting or discussion, they'll want to come back in and ask for more time. And then that will make your meetings longer. They won't be as effective and constructive for the public. It'll be harder to manage. And so it defeats the purpose of the order that has been in place for a very long time, but not just because it's a long time, but because there's good reason for it.
Councilwoman Boyle.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. I think from my perspective, I totally appreciate and agree with what the law director is saying. I think, last meeting, I did notice a couple of other individuals who had dropped off where it looked like they had raised their hand previously. And I know Scott was, I think, the only one who ended up staying through the whole time to speak. So I guess like my maybe recommendation would be, because I think what really held up the last meeting was the amount of presentations that we had, which is great. But I think if we could possibly identify when we do have presentations within the meeting agenda, that it would be transparent or give the heads up to anybody who wants to speak that all of this would be coming prior to them having the opportunity to speak. So just a recommendation or an idea based off of how time consuming sometimes those are for the meeting.
Thank you. Anyone else? Councilwoman Yantuno.
Thank you, Mr. President. I totally agree with what Scott or what Steve has said, Brenda said, and what Bridget has added. I do not want to see it changed.
Anyone else? Anyone else? I agree with, I think that with all the comments, I think that we have a proven agenda. The other thing, I think that these are unusual circumstances in that, people have to call in, and we're doing this with technology. And I think it might be a little bit easier when we get back to our normal situation where people can actually come down and be in the chambers with us and see what's going on. I think that would help alleviate some of the stress that people have when they're waiting, on the phone or on their iPod or whatever it is. So I would strongly recommend that we stay the course. It's been proven to be effective. There are other ways that people can communicate with members of council. I think council has proven they've been very diligent in responding to people and answering their questions and concerns. So that's always available to everybody. Anyone else? Anything else for the committee of the whole? Okay, very good. Well, adjourn the committee of the whole meeting, and we'll wait to get started for our regular council meeting.
I am officially a father of 4 now.
But now you had a little girl, right?
Little
Dan?
girl, Veronica
What-
Rose.
Veronica,
Veronica, yeah.
what's the middle name?
Veronica Rose.
Veronica Rose. Oh, boy.
Yeah. She's about a week old, and she thinks days are nights and nights are days. So
Ah,
it's
lucky
fun
you.
that happens. Yeah.
What's the count? Is it 2 girls, 2 boys,
Yeah,
1 girl,
yep.
3 boys?
2-2. Yeah, it's all even. So
Good job.
yeah, it's fun in our house right now.
When's the next one?
No, it's no mas. I'm done.
Well, congratulations. That's great.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right, it's 7 o'clock. I'm going to call the Tiffin City Council meeting to order for April 19th, 2021. This evening, Councilman Leopard will lead us in the invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance. Councilman Leopard.
Will you please join with me in the Lord's Prayer? Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Councilman Leopard. I'll now ask Council Clerk Ann Forrest to call the roll, please.
Councilman Leopard,
Here.
Councilman Perkins,
Here.
Councilman Perry,
Here.
Councilwoman Boyle,
Here.
Councilman Gillig,
Here.
Councilwoman Yanatuno, Councilman Jones.
I'll be here tonight because present is an old English term.
Excuse
Let
me.
the record show that all 7 members of council were present. At this point, I would like to open a public hearing. The purpose of the hearing is to discuss, consider ordinance 21-29. This ordinance responds to petition 104 vacating an alley between Wall Street and Shawn Avenue running north from 2nd Avenue in the 2nd Ward of the city of Tiffin. In addition, ordinance 21-30, this ordinance responds to petitions number 105 and 106, vacating South Street and Orchard Street running southwest from Euclid Avenue in the 3rd Ward of the city of Tiffin. And also ordinance 21-31, this ordinance responds to petition number 107, vacating North Street running southwest from Elmwood Street between East Davis Street and Douglas Street in the 2nd Ward of the city of Tiffin. We will take these ordinances one at a time. Anyone from the attending public that wishes to address council, please raise your hand, be recognized by the mayor, and direct your comments to the president of the council. The first one, the first ordinance would be 21-29, responding to petition number 104, vacating the alley between Wall Street and Shawn Avenue. No one? Law Director.
Yeah, if I can add, and this comment will be a similar comment for the other 2 ordinances too. In your packet tonight, I provided you a new and improved Exhibit A to the ordinances. And what it does is it doesn't change the location. You'll see the location is identical to how the Exhibit A, how it was identified when it was introduced, the ordinance introduced. But it added some parcel numbers, lot numbers as part of the plat. These are things that were requested by the Seneca County Auditor's Office, and is very helpful when it is recorded that they will then change the ownership of the alley after it's vacated. And as you may know, when an alley is vacated, the property then is split down the middle, and then each side goes to the adjoining property owners. And the extra information that I provided on each exhibit will help the auditor make that change of ownership of the alley going forward. So what I would ask that you do during motions tonight, or you can wait till the next meeting, but if you could amend each of the ordinances, all three of them, with the new Exhibit A that has been presented to you this evening as part of council's packet. Are there any questions about the revised Exhibit A's?
Anyone have any questions?
Thank you.
Okay. Do we have anybody from the public that's interested in commenting, Mayor?
I see no hands, but if there is anyone out there who is watching from the public that wishes to comment on this public hearing, please click the raise hand button at this time. Still no hands, Mr. President, so I'll take that to mean no further comment.
Okay, then we'll move on to ordinance 21-30. This ordinance responds to petition number 105 and 106, vacating South Street and Orchard Street running southwest from Euclid Avenue in the 3rd Ward of the city of Tiffin. Anyone who'd like to comment on that, please raise your hand and you'll be noticed by the mayor.
Same as the previous ordinance. Anyone wishing to address council on this subject, please use the raise hand function at this time. No hands, Mr. President.
Okay, thank you. Last ordinance 21-31. This ordinance responds to petition number 107, which vacates North Street running southwest from Elmwood Street between East Davis Street and Douglas Street in the 2nd Ward of the city of Tiffin. Anyone wishing to comment on that, please raise your hand. Be recognized by the mayor. Direct your comments to the president of the city council.
Once again, if there is anyone in the public room who wishes to address city council on this this subject matter, please use the raise hand function at this time. No hands, Mr. President.
Okay, thank you. At this point, I will close the public hearing. We'll move on to minutes. Hopefully, everybody had an opportunity to read the minutes. Are there any additions, deletions, or corrections? Councilman Jones.
Sorry, thank you, Mr. President. It's not worth bringing up, but I believe the top of page 3609, I believe it should have said the 5th for the date, but other than that, I don't see any changes.
Anything else? Okay. Without objection, the minutes will be approved as presented. We'll move on to committee reports. Finance, Councilman Gillig.
No report, Mr. President.
Thank you. Law and Community Planning, Councilwoman Boyle.
No report, Mr. President.
Thank you. Materials and Equipment, Councilman Jones.
No report at this time, Mr. President.
Thank you. Personnel and Labor Relations, Councilman Perry.
No report, Mr. President.
Thank you. Recreation and Public Property, Councilman Perkins.
No report at this time, Mr. President.
Thank you. Street Sidewalk and Sewers, Councilman Leopard.
No report, Mr. President.
Thank you. Economic Development and Downtown Planning, Councilwoman Yanatuno.
No report, Mr. President.
Thank you. Does anybody see a need for committee of the whole meeting? Okay. We'll move on to reports of the officers as Honor Mayor Aaron D. Montz.
Thank you, Mr. President. Because I've gone way over my allotment the last few meetings, I promise to be much quicker tonight. I've got a condensed report. First off this evening, I have Charla Van Osdol and Nicole Williams here. There to talk with council and the public about the new Safe Serve program. This was in response, if you recall, Councilman Lepper had the request to have folks that are participating in DORA go through some sort of a program for better training. So I'm going to let Charla and Nicole in the room now. And then Charla and Nicole, you should be in the room now. It is completely up to you two. If you want to show your faces, you don't have to, but you'll at the very least have to unmute yourself. But there's Nicole, so we got one. And you'll at the very least, though, have to unmute yourself so we can at least hear you. There's Charla. So we've got them both. Ladies, the floor is yours.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much, Mayor Motz. And I just want to thank, well, first of all, good evening, everybody. And I just want to thank you all for giving us the opportunity to speak with you about our new Safe Serve program. This is going to be available for our permit holders and their employees, which we're really excited about. And as you spoke, it is in response to Dora, but I just wanted to give you a little bit of history. This program really isn't, although the virtual program is new, working with and providing education is not new. We have been working with our permit holders for about the past decade to have their support. We bring in the alcohol server training program for the Ohio Investigative Unit. We've been doing that for a number of years. These trainings have always been well attended and to help support our strategy of underage drinking and over serving. We have our youth survey data from 2019 through 2009 through 2019 that demonstrates a significant decrease in 30-day use of alcohol. We attribute in part to having these trainings. So we're very excited to have these trainings continue. But in light of COVID, we have been unable to provide those trainings in person like everything else. We are excited to make this commitment to offer this valuable service once again. I'm going to turn it over to Nicole. She's going to describe a little bit about what the program is. We are available for any questions. I actually took the training myself, was really surprised at the rigorousness of it. It's not going to be extremely easy. It took me about 90 minutes to complete it. But I thought it was very well done. And I feel confident that by the time our permit holders and their employees have the opportunity to take the training, that they will have a very good understanding, not only about the laws in relationship to underage drinking and over serving, and taking a look at those driver's licenses and all of that, but also about just the consumption of alcohol and how that can impact someone's behavior and the things that might be happening and how to kind of monitor that throughout their experience and contact with that person. So I'm going to turn it over to Nicole. And thank you again. And if you have any questions, let me know.
Thank you, Charla.
Hi, everyone, and thank you as well. I'll echo Charla in allowing us to be here on this evening's meeting. I just briefly want to talk about the program. As Charla said, it's online, and she described a little bit about what it will address. One of the things it does not address are Ohio-specific laws. And that's actually because Ohio is one of the states who does not require servers to be trained. So there's no specific laws to Ohio within this training. So we're hoping that eventually we can get the Ohio Investigative Unit back to be able to address some more of those issues. But we're really excited for this program. As Charla said, it may take around 90 minutes. We've put out a couple of press releases regarding the program, and if anyone is interested in participating, we just ask that you call the Mental Health and Recovery Services Board office, and we will get you a free code that you'll put into the program, and that's kind of how you get signed up, and you're also able to start and stop it at any time. We're really excited to offer this and focus our first round of the program to those permit holders that are within the DORA area so that we can have them trained and just provide this service for our community. So again, thank you so much for allowing us to speak this evening. And if anyone has any questions, I'm sure Charla or I could answer those for you. And if not, then thank you again.
We appreciate, Rich, do you want me to call on him or are you calling on him?
Go ahead, Mayor.
Okay. Were there questions? Ken, did you have a hand up? Yes, go ahead, Councilman Jones.
Okay, well, thank you, Nicole and Charlotte. And I think I read the press release that said, and I did talk to Rose out there on 53 North. The general public or us on city council, and I would like to go through this 90-minute training myself just to see what it entails. But we would be on the second tier, the third tier of training, not right off the bat. Is that correct?
Councilman Jones, I thought I had talked with Rose and that she was going to be giving you one of the codes. Because we did want both our council members and commissioners to be able to participate in this for the purposes of any of your constituents would ask you questions about them. You would be able to go in our first round. So if you have not gotten one back from Rose, I can talk with her tomorrow, or if you want to send her an email, I'll follow up with that. But anyone here on council could, of course, participate this first round so that you can help advocate as well.
Okay, well, thank you, Nicole, for putting me on the spot, but you were correct. I did get response back from Rose, and it's in this pile of papers, that code for me to get on there. And me being part of the tree commission, and golfing is starting, et cetera, et cetera. So yes, I guess
No
I answered.
problem.
I answered my own question. I'll stand down, as I say sometimes.
Okay, no, you're fine. I just wanted to make sure you actually got the code and that we weren't falling behind on our end. But yes, anyone on the council we'd be more than happy to have you take it the first round. Really, our first round that we were saying was more for the people in the Dora area, is because eventually we would like to open it up to gas stations, carryouts, small businesses that probably don't have trainings throughout the whole county. So the purpose of the first round is to hopefully get those involved that are directly impacted by the DORA.
I also wanted to add, I think there are about 115 slots available for our permit holders, which if we fill all of those slots in this first round, I would be excited. We generally have probably 50 to 75 permit holders and or employees through the alcohol server knowledge training with the investigative unit per year. So if we could get 115 folks trained, that would be even more than what we typically would have. And I see this as an opportunity to have this now and to offer this during these times right now. But our hope is that eventually with the investigative unit coming back, that we would have in-person trainings as well as this offer this to our businesses and retailers.
Anyone else have any comments or questions? All right, well, Charla and Nicole, I want to thank you both. And I know Mircha had a hand in this as well. Those of you all know Mircha Handru from Mental Health Recovery Services Board. I think this is phenomenal. You can never have too much training, especially when it comes to dealing with the sale of alcohol. Years before, before I was a mayor and when I was on council, I ran retail stores. So I understand how important it is to sell alcohol properly. It can be life-changing, not only to you selling to that person you're selling to, but it can be life-changing to you if you sell to a minor or to someone who is clearly intoxicated. So I think this training just takes things to the next level. And really, I don't know why someone wouldn't take it. It's free. And like you said, you can start, stop, and resume it at any time. So it's not like you have to sit down for 2 hours straight in front of a computer and stare at the screen and watch videos. It's something that you can take in small increments. So I would encourage everyone, not just those within the Dora area. I know that this first tier is within Dora, but I would encourage every business in Tiffin that sells alcohol in any capacity, but especially those with bartenders, servers right there, please get this training for your people. It's only an extra layer of assistance to ensure that something bad doesn't happen to your business, to one of your employees, or to one of your patrons. So I can't thank you enough for putting this together.
Yeah, Mayor, on behalf of City Council, Nicole, Charla. We want to thank you for your efforts on behalf of the community. We really appreciate it. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you so much for allowing us. If there is any way that you could promote it through social media or, in your area, please do that for us. I think you've probably seen the press release. That would be a great way to get that information out further to those businesses for us as well. So thank you. We're excited, actually.
We're also excited. This is what Tiffin's about. We like to come up with our own programs to take things to the next step and help people. And it's exactly what you two and others who are involved in this have done. So thank you both very much.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.
All right, let me get them on out of here. All right. Few items to report before I bring in Bryce Kuhn, who will give us the Parks Department annual update. Huge kudos and thank you to Tiffin Fire and Rescue Division, Tiffin Police Department, and also Public Works. As probably everyone knows by now, we had a major fire downtown that because of our amazing firefighters and the police department, they were able to get things under control very quickly. We always talk about, we like to go above and beyond with training here, and it really paid off. Chief Chappell, hearing the stories of, very seldom do you have a fire of this magnitude and you don't lose an entire building downtown. Oftentimes a fire of this magnitude, you lose the whole block that the fire is in. And this building, it will be salvageable. Of course, the occupants inside did lose most of their belongings, but the building itself is salvageable, and it did not spread to the adjoining units. And I think that speaks volumes to the job of our department and the fire department, police department. I know they said one of our officers got some of the occupants of the building out before the fire department got there. So it just, again, speaks volumes to the job that the Tiffin Fire and Rescue Division and the Tiffin Police Department do. Brandon and his staff coming in to help with some road closings and just all around team effort to salvage this situation, save the building, no loss of life, no injuries amongst anyone. It could have been a truly epic disaster. And for those living there, it still is truly a disaster, but it could have been an epic downtown disaster where we could have lost one of our central blocks in the downtown. So I know I've said it several times, but kudos, I cannot thank them enough for the job that they did over this weekend. Very quickly, with the financial update, things continue to look very positive here in 2021. For the month of April, we are up just under 10%, which is about $60,000 ahead of where we were on April 16th of last year. And for the year through April 16th, we are ahead by 5.2%, which is a positive change of just over $166,000. So things continue to look good on the financial side. And I just closed out accidentally of my report. COVID-19 numbers have about doubled in the last week with active cases. We had gone from right around 50 to just over 100. Of course, that's not desirable. Luckily, most of these cases have not been severe. The Tiffin Fire and Rescue Division tells me that they're not seeing an increase in calls or transports related directly to COVID-19, which is good. The severity of the illness does seem to be lessening here. And of course, we believe too, as people continue more and more getting vaccinated, it's what's also helping with the numbers remaining lower. If you all recall, I know Council President Fote, you were not at our last meeting, you were on vacation. But the last meeting we did announce we will be reopening all of our buildings in the city on June the 1st to business as normal. So they have been open for the last many months by appointment. We're going to open just to business as usual, which means if council so chooses, the meetings will be back in person anytime after June the 1st. So I would assume the first meeting in June, which is scheduled for the 7th. I would assume you would all do in person in the council room. We're of course going to continue to follow CDC guidelines. So whatever they say at that time, as far as mask or social distancing. We obviously will follow that, but we're going to get back to in-person. By that time, people have had a couple of months of anyone 16 and over who wants the vaccine to get the vaccine. So at that point, I think we're going to be to where the majority of people who want it have gotten the vaccine. Those that have not gotten it at that point are probably going to choose just not to have gotten it. But we have jobs to do. We have got to get things reopened and start to return to some point of normalcy here, because we need it, from our mental health to our physical health and just everything in between. Our businesses need it. We've got to begin to return things to normal here in Tiffin, Ohio, which is why we are going forward with the opening of our pool. We returned the park programs this year, and why we're going to have the biggest 4th of July celebration out at the parks that we've had in recent memory, if not ever. So we have that greatly increased budget. I'm sure Bryce is probably going to talk a little bit about it tonight in his report, but we're not trying to rush things. But at the same time, we cannot continue to change how we're living our lives once everyone has the opportunity to have been vaccinated. Everyone has the right to make their decision on if they want the vaccine or not, but we're not going to continue to keep things closed and to hide away come June here in Tiffin, Ohio. So we just got to return. A couple of other items. We've had very nice business updates since our last council meeting. I want to congratulate Sandy Stout and Mark Griffin, the new owners of the Big Dipper. The facelift looks great. I apologize. I was stuck in a meeting. I didn't get to make the ribbon cutting, but I want to thank Councilman Zach Perkins, who did a tremendous job. He filled in for me and delivered some very nice remarks at the Big Dipper ribbon cutting. So congratulations, Sandy Stout and Mark Griffin, on your purchase. I think Big Dipper's future is in good hands with the two of you. Also last week, Relax and Revive Spa had their ribbon cutting. Bryce Riggs and Deb Martirana from the chamber told me it was their largest attended ribbon cutting either one of them can ever remember at the chamber. A couple hundred people. It was cold that day, so the heat was still on, and there were so many of us. It was sweltering. It certainly felt like we were at a spa in that place, but it was tremendous. They are the largest full-service spa in all of Seneca County. Very impressive new business. Katie Romanko is the owner. Meeting all of the folks working there, just smiles on their face. And you can't help but walk in that door, and just from the moment you walk in, you do feel relaxed and at ease with just how the setup is, how calming everything is. So congratulations, Katie, and your staff. And then also today was the ribbon cutting and open house for Seoul Boutique in downtown Tiffin. They went into where Joni's Trash to Treasures was previously located, right across the street from Kessler and Company and Washington Street Outfitters. That block is kind of now the upcoming block. You know, first the Empire block came back to life with the Empire opening and the Renaissance and several new businesses in that area. Now this block is coming alive. You've got, within the last year, Washington Street Outfitters, Kessler and Company. You have the Seoul Boutique opening up. The new Hoptometry Brewery is right there. So it's just so neat to see downtown Tiffin continue to be revitalized by all of these small, cool, unique businesses continuing to open and locate there. Congratulations to Amanda Bird and her family on opening that business. I also want to congratulate Tiffin City Schools on making what I feel will be a great hire. Van McCreath is the new superintendent. I got to meet Mr. McCreath last week. Great background, started off as a young man in the military and then progressed, went into the education field where he became principal at Painesville School, High School for a number of years. Really seems to have a well-rounded background. His wife is also in education. She is a special education teacher. So education runs very deep in their family. They assured me, one of my questions I had was, are you going to move into the district? And they assured me that they will be living in the Tiffin City Schools District, which I think that is huge. If you're going to lead our schools, you need to live here. So very excited. Can't wait to have them join us. Hopefully a few of these housing developments we've talked about really get up and moving, because we know the housing stock is so tight right now. But we're excited for Van McCreath and his wife to move to Tiffin and begin their leadership roles with Tiffin City Schools. Just to remind the public, Aqua is continuing this week to flush water lines in Tiffin. The city has it on our site. Aqua has it on theirs with the streets. Most of them this week are in the 4th Ward, but please check that site because you will have discolored water and a drop in water pressure while they're doing it. Then I also want to talk very quickly about the electric vehicle chart, or excuse me, about the Columbia Gas project. Columbia Gas is going to be conducting a fairly substantial project, mainly on the south side of Tiffin, mainly in the 4th Ward this year. I am going to bring up, share my screen very quickly with all of you, just in the event that you get questions, if I can. Right, I think, can you all see my screen? Columbia Gas project, okay. So it's a fairly substantial project that Columbia Gas will be doing. They are sending out this brochure to everyone that they have accounts with, that they are aware of, where the project is ongoing. What I will scroll down, I'm not going to read through all this. We will have a Columbia Gas representative at our next council meeting. So if any members of council or any members of the general public have questions for this representative, you have a couple of options. You can either come to the next council meeting, ask the questions there. There is, as you see here, a virtual meeting that will be held on the 28th of April, next week, 5:30 p.m. It has the web link right on there, or you can call in toll free. And then there's also additional information available online. You should receive these in the mail. My street is one of the many streets having this done. Mine came in the mail today at my house with this exact information in it. These are the areas they're working. As you see, almost the entire length of Ella Street. You've got Martha Street in here, South Washington Street, all over the southern side of Tiffin, mainly in the 4th Ward. So they're replacing pipelines and upgrading them. So just as to kind of get you the basic information out in front of it now, so that if you do have questions, you can get in touch with either the Columbia Gas representative, or you can bring them to the next council meeting where we will have that representative at the meeting. They will have to, in most cases, come into your home, and you will have gas service disconnected for a short time, about a 2 to 4 hour period, while this project is ongoing. So that's important to know, that you will have to schedule a time for them to come into your house potentially to make sure that everything is functioning properly before they turn gas back on. So please, members of the public, council members, if you have questions, several options: either attend our next council meeting, either go to the Columbia Gas website and then register for this virtual meeting, or you can call the toll-free number that is listed here. We will have the information on our website as well. We'll put the information on our social media, but you will also receive this information packet directly in your mailbox at home, as long as you have a current account with Columbia Gas. So that is that. And just a couple of other items before I turn things over to Bryce. Wanted to let everyone know the electric vehicle charging stations are fully operational. The city administrator did send all the paperwork in for reimbursement on that. We have had some usage. So we're excited to see, because we haven't even made any big announcement that they're active. So they are being used, which is very positive news. And with that, the last couple of things are just some very quick project updates. City Engineer Watson, they're under the peak construction period beginning for the engineer's office. The railroad quiet zone project is going well. If anything, it's maybe even a little ahead of schedule. They hope to have the substantial part of that construction done and the road back to close to normal by Memorial Day time. The curb ramp and prep work is nearly completed for all of the streets that will be paved here in 2021. Speaking of which, they're very hopeful that street resurfacing will begin already next week in the city of Tiffin. That, of course, is weather permitting, but probably one of the earliest periods we can remember street resurfacing beginning here in the month of April. And then the Shawn Avenue project is nearly done. They're hoping to be out there paving tomorrow, weather permitting, with Shawn Avenue. If you recall, that project is being completed because of the new manufacturer that's coming to town and adding a lot of jobs with it and significant investment at that site. So very good news. Any questions for me or members of the administration before I turn things over to Bryce Kuhn with the Parks update? Okay, well, without further ado, Bryce Kuhn, who is the director of the City of Tiffin Parks and Recreation, is on his way in to give his annual update to you all. Bryce, can you hear us?
Yes, I'm here now.
All right.
Very good.
There he is.
All right. Sorry, it was weird. I got like disconnected, but I'm back on now. So good evening, council members. Thank you very much for allowing me to speak on behalf of the parks tonight. Keep it short and sweet and to the point. As you know, our main goal with parks is to keep everybody happy and involved in exploring the new grounds. So as I say, it's see you in the parks rather than on Zoom. So Aaron, if you could share or give me the option to share my screen. Over the course of this past winter and this past year, we did some intense updating and redesigning our website because we knew.
Bryce, will it let you share your screen? It should.
Oh, sure. Yes.
Okay.
Yep. All right. I guess it was on my end. Thank you.
It's okay. There you go. We see
All
it.
right. Everybody can see that?
Yep, we see it. Sorry to interrupt.
No, you're fine. Thank you. So we were able to really go through and break our entire website down, which was pretty fun to do because some of the stuff was well outdated. So our biggest piece, and kudos to Mason Carell, our rec operations manager, and Kathy Moore out at the ESC for really revamping this. And kind of with the big excitement push of having the outdoor pool free for this year, along with our 5 specialties camps, we knew we were going to have a lot of attention going to this site. So the biggest things we really like to promote are our shelters tab. From the shelters, it kind of breaks it out. Before our process was either call our office, who we would then forward the message to finance and have our accounts payable lady, take the reservation and take payment in person. So with COVID happening, as we all know, going virtual was pretty key. So if you're interested in renting one of the shelters out at Hedges, simply scroll to our shelters page, check the calendar to make sure it's available, it's not already reserved, as well as the location of those shelters through the online process. Simply request a shelter, and it's a online form. Just follow the prompts, gives the details as to how much the shelters are for that day. Again, click which shelter you're interested in renting, and you get sent an email right away as soon as you submit it that identifies how to make payment within the 7-day period. So again, that was great, a great advancement for our small office. On the other side of that, we have our youth day camps, which again is through an online database. This database is pushed through the ESC, which is actually where our website is stored on server. So it was really nice. Any user that would, or excuse me, any family member that would want to have their kid attend our camps this year would simply just create a username, password, log in, and then just fill out which camps they would be wanting to attend. Again, that process has been really simple, really easy. I think just because our website is so user-friendly. So now we're on our main page. You guys all knew April 5th was our our go live date for any resident within Tiffin being able to receive the free membership to the pool this year. Any non-residents, anybody outside of the city of Tiffin, there would be a $10 fee for their membership. We knew that was needed to be right on the main screen so everybody could see it right away, not have to scroll through. So same process, simply just click the box, takes you, creates a username, password, and follow the prompts all the way through. Currently, as of this afternoon, we have 2,419 members that would like to have memberships to the pool this year. So we have never had those numbers before, so we're very excited. Normally we're in that 500 to 600 member range. So we're geared, my staff will be ready to go. Lifeguards are excited, ready to have a normal summer. Normally any member would be issued a physical hard copy card that has a barcode on the backside of it, just like a library card or Kroger card or anything of that sort. We knew with that bulk of a number, we would require a big expense to getting those types of cards created. So with the help of Kathy out at the ESC, we have been able to produce a digital barcode. So if you registered your kids, your families, any individuals, you can actually go back through our website and you will see a digital barcode that is physically for each person in your membership. So if you have 5 family members in your membership, you'll see 5 separate barcodes. You can screenshot those on your smartphones. You can physically print them out and keep it on a hard piece of paper, or take your picture, take a picture with your cell phone from your computer itself. That way everybody has it right at their fingertips. The biggest thing with this is because we wanted to make the transaction between our office and our staff, as well as the office, make it as smooth and easy as possible, and create that that interaction piece to get the family members into the pool as quick as possible. So there's nobody can lose a pass and have to find and contact us to get them a new pass midway through the year. So that's very, very exciting. We were the old business cards. We'd print our own passes and physically write number 1, number 2, number 3 in the bottom right corner. So we were very outdated in that. So very exciting news for that. Our camp updates, if we would scroll into our programs, youth camps, you'll see what is available and what's not available. So out of, let's see, we have 3 camps left that are available, and those are our partnership camps: tennis camp, golf camp, as well as equestrian camp. Those are obviously off-site. Tiffin University is where we do our tennis camp. Culinary camp, equestrian camp is done with the Lane of Dreams. It was driven through Tiffin University. They had to unfortunately pull the program off before COVID last year, as well as our golf camp, which we partner with Mohawk Country Club for that one. Our other main camps filled up within 14 minutes on the day we went live, and we hold 70 kids in those camps. So we're not doing any waiting list because we can barely keep track of what we have right now. So hopefully everybody that signed up this early in the game will be able to participate and come to those camps. We are hiring 8 to 9 day camp counselors, and our ratio is 1 counselor to 8 to 9 kids. That falls in the COVID protocols, but also it's just a good number for our staff to handle and keep track of, but also provides that, the hands-on and the good counseling that's needed for that. Another fun camp that we have is Culinary Camp. We actually started that a few years ago with Sentinel. We go out to their facility and in their kitchen, and the kids learn everything, basically making their own dough to make noodles, and then they'll make sauce, and then by lunchtime they're eating everything they just made, and they're having themselves a nice spaghetti dinner. They'll use proper etiquette too, how to actually place dinnerware at a table. So it's a really cool piece, the hands-on, and I can see us in the years to come is to kind of branch out into Sentinel more, utilize them more, in partnership with more of their different departments. I can see us breaking out with electrical trades, the building trades, nursing. I think there's so much more that we can tap and utilize, but also bring the kids and the families aware of how important a facility like that is. And hopefully they can, I would say we're like the navigators. We help the families kind of piece or get them the bridge to these different areas that maybe some never would even think about doing. So that's a great piece for us to have as well. Let's think. Other thing, we have our park updates. So Nature Trails was awarded the CDBG project for this year. Speaking with Matt Watson this morning, everything is okay to go, just waiting on the allocation of the funds to hit TSEP. So once that happens, we will go to bid and get that project hopefully underway yet this year. It's going to be similar in design and style to what Riverview Park was a few years ago, a quarter-mile trail kind of around the outer loop of the park, a playground with a swing set. It's going to be nice for that, very nice piece to have in that area. I know, my 7 years, really nothing has ever been in that area, right across from old Councilman Joe Hartzell's house. So I'm sure he'll be excited to see the development going across the street for him. Kind of our capital projects this year, we had two. We were able to purchase another wide area mower. We have two wide area mowers, WAMs. One strictly stays out of hedges, catches 29.5 to 30 hours a week of mowing. The other wide area mower will utilize the 7 larger outer parks. These mowers are about $75,000. It is a 13-foot mowing capabilities. So we do obviously trailer one to the 7 outer parks. We love to turn these and rotate these equipments every 4 to 5 years if we can, so we can get some resale value out of them. We were able to get $20,000 out of our 5-year-old model this past year for that. So obviously we're government, we do get government pricing that helps bring the piece down a little bit, but any trade-in value we can get makes it a little bit easier. So we spent a total of $38,000 for this new wide area mower. As of this afternoon at 3:30, we did have all of our security cameras installed out at Hedges Boyer Park. Right now we have 12 cameras overlooking the sports courts, along with 5 cameras overlooking the swimming pool. The reason this was a push for a capital request this year is due to the vandalism that happened last year prior to COVID. We unfortunately had some burnouts, donuts on the basketball court, along with the lighting. The Musco lights were shot out with marbles or some sort. So we had no form of seeing who getting any information. So with this $32,000 capital improvement to Edges, hopefully this will allow us to at least get a picture of a car, a license plate, and help us pinpoint who actually did that vandalism. So looking forward to that system, and not being a big brother, but just as it's a backup there for us that can help down the road. So we did have the Oakley Park cleanup this past weekend. It was nice to see people's faces outdoor. I always love that event. The neighborhood around Oakley Park is one of a kind. They pull together, and it's great. It's like everybody's best friends, and you don't see them I see, you know, one couple every year, but it seems like I see them every weekend. But just a loving support in the community, and we were very fortunate to have a great support for our parks within our community. Other than that, we will be hiring over 30 staff members this year, lifeguards, maintenance, day camps. We have 7 returning, so that makes the other 23 newbies. And we always love to try to get our hires in March and April, because we all know grass is growing and trying to get that piece tackled. You know, nearly 200 acres of grass needs cut weekly. It's hard to do with the 3 of us in our department, myself, Mason, and Todd. So we try to get some early college kids if we can in the spring as well to hold us out in the fall. But that is the Parks and Recs. If you haven't seen our website yet, please go check it out. We're very excited with it. Try to tie in obviously the city logos, the new branding, materials, the grays, the teals, everything to make it really pop. So what questions do council members have for the parks?
Well, Bryce, I just want to thank you for giving the thorough update and all of the very good information, and congratulate you also on our 40th year of Tree City USA. It's quite the accomplishment, a lot of good work. With that, maybe I missed it, but did you invite them to the event you're having Friday?
Oh, I did not. Thank you. Yes.
Jones at least will want to be there. It's in his ward and he's on the tree commission. So
that's correct. My website's gone. I guess I'll stop sharing. And so yeah, we will be doing our our Earth Day celebration. It's the 4th Friday of April every year. We tie it in with Tiffin Shade Tree. It's gonna be at 3:45 at Nature Trails Park. We have an after-school class from Noble that will be walking down to participate. Every year we try to have a different class, different school participate in this. And that's one of the pieces that we are needed or is needed for the accreditation to be Tree City USA. So see you all 3:45, Nature Trails in the parks. Don't forget.
do we bring shovels or snow shovels?
Yeah, that is very true. I don't know. We'll see how I'll let everybody know where we're at on Friday.
Anyone have any questions or comments for Bryce? Ken, Councilman Jones?
Thank you. 4 items. 1, I did RSVP for Friday at 3:45. So yes, I will be there at Nature Trails. Item 2, Mr. Kuhn, you mentioned 2,419 reservations. Was that Tiffin residents or was that including paid from Foster Area, et cetera, et cetera?
Yes, that would be everybody as a whole. So there are paid and the 3 memberships in that 2,400.
Okay, that was too easy for you. That was only 2.
Great, I'm done. All right.
Well, no, I know Nature Trails is designated for the CDBG grant, and I believe it's $120,000. I was hoping that Nature Trails could stand out from some of the other smaller parks in the community. And I know you talked about quarter-mile trail, some equipment. I talked to Audrey Flood months and months ago about this. Wouldn't it be nice at Nature Trails to put a ice skating rink in or something? The water's right there, Sandusky River. Maybe a rope climbing wall. I don't know of any other rope climbing wall in Tiffin Park system. Maybe make it some of the equipment handicap accessible. But I'm just hoping Nature Trails would stand out versus some of the other smaller parks. Is that a possibility, or is it already planned out for this $120,000 and it's spent already?
Well, it's not spent yet because we haven't received it yet. So, but the design and the layout, if you will, is already kind of constructed with the help of engineers department. So the reason we kind of went the path we did is Nature Trails is on the loop or is part of the active transportation route through Tiffin, but also throughout Seneca County. So we knew we needed to have trail system tied into it to allow the accessibility to go from downtown on Water Street to get it out to Huss Street Bridge to tie into Shekelhoff Park, but also to go out towards Junior Home Park or even Riverside Drive. So the trail piece, I know it speaks volumes with city administration and myself and engineers, as far as we know we need to keep advancing our trails, advancing the accessibility to all of our parks, to not necessarily keep kids or keep family members off the roads, but get them to areas and places that they normally could not have been because of the grass or the pavement, not the accessibility piece that it needs to be.
Okay, and that was 3. And the last one, you went pretty quick through your website and I haven't been on there yet, but the golf, can I get in on that golf, or is that limited to a certain age at Mohawk?
You could, just not through the Tiffin Parks and Recs. I'm sure Scott would be happy to have some private lessons with you out there. Thank you, Councilman Jones.
Councilman Leopard?
Thank you, Mayor. Bryce, my favorite cereals are now Kellogg's because of the monies that they provided to the city of Tiffin for access to recreation. Is that still an active program where we can hopefully pick up some dollars?
Yes, and Brent probably can help speak to this too, but the remaining dollars, if I'm correct, were set aside and they're through the community foundation. It is an access to recreation grant. And we actually did apply for that in the years past. And actually last year we did receive, I want to say a little over $7,000 to help seal the trails at Shekelhoff Park last year. So Jody does help us out really well with trying to allocate and use those funds for anything with accessibility.
Thank you.
Yes. And keep eating those Kellogg's.
Any other questions, comments for Bryce? Well, Bryce, tremendous job this evening. We appreciate it, and we'll try to leave you alone. We know you're getting into the really busy season out of the Parks Department, so we'll try to leave you be. Do you want to put in a pitch for your new mower while you're here?
Oh yeah, the tractor. Well, I had actually 2 final pieces, but Law Director Howard, did I speak correctly with the Kellogg's access to recreation program?
You did, Bryce. Part of that, the money that came to the city, or came to the community foundation, I should say, it required an endowment. And so we're still benefiting from that. And so Tiffin Community Foundation has a significant endowment that can be used for future projects or the maintenance of the existing projects. Also, I would add one of the things that was a part of that grant was leveraging other money. So I know that is something to keep in mind anytime that we want to use those local funds, that there might be funds outside the community for accessibility for a variety of purposes, including to recreation. And so we always want to keep that in mind, that using that local money could draw double the amount from the outside area. So it's always something I know Bryce and others think about.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Final 2 statements. I will say those that have not gotten out to Shekelhoff Park the last week, we were awarded last year a no pet grant for $2,000, and this year we are awarded again for $2,000. We had partnership or collaboration, I should say, with the Seneca County Library. We're installing a story walk trail along the half-mile paved trail that the city owns. There are 20 stations, and throughout those 20 stations, there will be a chapter or a page from a book that will allow you to walk the entire half-mile paved trail and read pieces of that book. The library will be changing those out monthly. So we're kind of looking forward to that. So with the help of the Seneca Public Library, NOPEC, our department, and they will, and excuse me, and Sentinel Electrical Trades was out last week to help us auger the holes and put the post in. So we should see that here this coming week as far as the putting on the post metal brackets. So hopefully this next week to 2 weeks, the library will be able to install the pages, and we can get some more kids and families out to that north side of the park system. Finally, our tractor. I know I said 10 minutes and it's been well over 10, but no 4 hours, so we'll be good. Just vote yes on the tractor because we really need it. Yeah, the tractor, we use it and obviously in the summer, and then in the fall, winter, depending when we get snow, streets will use it to plow and to salt the bridges, sidewalks, as well as our trail system. So it's not a single use piece of equipment, it's multi-use with multi-departments, which is one thing I know we try to do to help save our dollars. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Bryce. Any further questions or comments from council?
No, Bryce, just great job, good report. Keep up the good work. I know you will. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you, President.
Yep, he and his staff do a tremendous job out there. So, all right. Well, Bryce, we appreciate you joining us this evening. Enjoy the rest of your evening.
Thank you. You guys too. I appreciate it. Oh, I may come back to you midsummer. We'll see with some questions. Keep that on the pull.
Thanks again, Bryce.
Take care, guys.
All right, Mr. President, my report's completed. Any questions or comments, I'd answer them. If not, back to you.
Anybody have any questions for the mayor? Seeing none, we'll move ahead to our next report. Clerk of Council, Ann Forrest.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have 2 items this evening. The first one, 60 days have passed since we received the County Commissioner's approval for the annexation of the Sisters of St. Francis property. And so now the petition is being placed before City Council for their consideration. The second one is I have received and have on file in my office the fiscal officer's certificate signed by the finance director regarding the street improvement notes, series 2021, a copy of the proposed engagement letter with Squire Patton Boggs for legal services related to the street improvement notes, as well as the form for the purchase agreement. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. Any questions for Clerk of Council, Ann Forrest? Director of Finance, Kathy Kaufman.
No report, Mr. President.
Thank you. Director of Law, Brent T. Howard.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. Just a quick update on the work of the Charter Review Commission. They met last Wednesday at a Zoom meeting open to the public, and they completed their section by section systematic review of the charter. At last meeting, they had a rather robust discussion regarding Article 10, which dealt with the nomination and election of municipal officials. After discussion, the consensus of the commission was to continue with the open primary system that was established 10 years ago. You may know that that allows for any voter to vote for any candidate, regardless of the party affiliation of the voter or candidate in the primary. But kind of unique to Tiffin, we do allow for the candidates to have the name, their party name designation next to their name on the ballot. The follow-up meeting to last Wednesday will be on the 28th of April. The meeting will start at 6 p.m. It's a Zoom meeting again, open to the public. And the primary purpose of that meeting is to consider a few items to clarify the nomination election process, in particular, possible changes to write-in candidacy for the nomination process and election process, and then also deal with issues of what happens if there's a vacancy on the ballot of a candidate, either through a withdrawal of a candidate, a death, or a disqualification. There were some questions about whether there needs to be a local provision in the charter to add some clarity to that. Also at that meeting, it'll be the first meeting that we have invited John Larson of Squire Patton Boggs. That firm assists the city at times in various matters, including they serve as bond counsel for the city. John has personally been involved with helping charter review commissions dating back to the 1980, I believe. And so he understands all the changes we've made in the past and has followed us very closely. And he continues and will assist us at the next meeting with some help in this Article 10 and for any other matters before the Charter Review Commission. The commission will finish up their work in the next 30 days or so with a report. And as I've told you before, they will approve a written report to City Council. It will be presented to you probably at the first meeting in the month of June for your consideration of potential changes to the amendments to the charter. And as I've explained before, you will then have a couple months to consider those changes and decide which ones you submit to the voters for their consideration at the fall ballot. So that's the process that's going on right now with the Charter Review Commission. Again, their next meeting is April the 28th. That's Wednesday next week at 6 p.m. via Zoom. And that concludes my report unless there are any questions of any of the council members.
Does anyone have any questions for the law director? Thank you, Brent. We're now under written communications. Do we have any written communications? And
Yes, we do, Mr. President. We have one that was added today and was emailed to everyone on council. It is the Finance Director's request for legislation F21-15 to amend the 2021 budget ordinance 21-11 to appropriate funds into the Parks Department budget.
the Finance Director's request for legislation F21-15 will be held on file in the clerk's office. A revised ordinance 21-37 has been, will be presented this evening.
And that concludes the written communications.
Thank you. We're now under oral communications. Anybody from the attending public who wishes to address City Council can do so by raising their hand to be identified by the mayor. And please address your comments to the President of City Council.
All right, we're in a public comment period. Anyone who wishes to ask a question, address a concern to City Council, there should be a button depending on your device you're using, either at the bottom or the top of the screen that says raise hand. You just need to click that and then you'll be able to ask your question or make your comment. So please click the raise hand feature at this time if you wish to ask a question or make a comment. I see no hands up, Mr. President, and I'm going to mute myself because the fire trucks are going by. I don't know if you can hear, but
yeah. Okay, so we don't have any hands up. All right. We'll now move on to motions. Do we have any motions this evening? We're now under resolutions and ordinance. Oh, wait a minute. Councilman Leopard.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President. I would ask to amend ordinance number 21-29. The amendment would be the inclusion of Exhibit A as provided to us by the law director.
Okay. All right, we have a motion to amend ordinance 21-29. Is there a second? Councilman Perry?
Yeah, I'll second, Mr. President.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All right, clerk will call the vote, please.
Councilman Leopard,
Yes.
Perkins,
Yes.
Perry,
Yes.
Boyle,
Yes.
Gillig,
Yes.
and Yanatuno.
Yes.
The motion
And Council-
passes seven.
One more, I'm sorry, Councilman Jones.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0. Councilman Leopard.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would ask to amend ordinance number 21-30 to include Exhibit A as provided to us by the law director.
We have a motion to amend ordinance 21-30 with revised Exhibit A. Is there a second? Councilwoman Yanatuno.
I'll second, Mr. President.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, I'll ask the clerk to call the vote, please.
Councilman Leopard,
Yes.
Perkins,
Yes.
Perry,
Yes.
Boyle,
Yes.
Gillig,
Yes.
Yanatuno,
Yes.
and Jones.
Yes.
The motion passes with a vote of 7-0. Councilman Leopard.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would ask to amend ordinance number 21-31 with Exhibit A as provided to us by the law director.
Thank you. We have a motion to amend ordinance 21-31 with the revised Exhibit A. Is there a second to the motion, please? Councilman Perkins.
I'd like to second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, I'll ask the clerk to call the vote, please.
Councilman Leopard,
Yes.
Perkins,
Yes.
Perry,
Yes.
Boyle,
Yes.
Gillig,
Yes.
Yanatuno,
Yes.
and Jones.
Yes.
The motion to amend passes with a vote of 7-0. Councilman Jones.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would make a motion to amend ordinance 21-22. And that involves the hazardous pay for COVID-19 pandemic for city employees. And I would ask to amend it that all city employees receive the same dollar amount, being $1,625, with half of that going to the part-time employees. So I would make that motion.
Okay. You want to repeat that for me, please? I'm sorry.
Ken, you're muted.
You're muted, Ken.
Thank you. Thank you both. Amend ordinance 21-22 involving the hazard pay for city employees to make it equal for all city employees, full-time, $1,625 each, with half that amount going to the part-time employees.
All right, we have a motion to amend ordinance 21-22 to make the hazard pay equal for all city employees and half pay for part-time. Did I have that right? Okay. We have a motion. Is there a second? Okay, we have no second, so the motion dies. Any other motions? All right, seeing none, we'll move on to resolutions.
Resolution number 21-8, introduced by Dawn Yanatuno, resolution accepting the recommendation of the Tax Incentive Review Council to continue certain tax incentive agreements with local businesses and property owners and declaring an emergency.
This is a second reading of resolution 21-8.
Ordinance number 21-8 21-15, introduced by Dawn Yanatuno, ordinance amending the zoning map of the city of Tiffin to change the zoning classification of 5 parcels of land on South Sandusky Street owned by R Investments LLC in the 3rd Ward of the city of Tiffin, Ohio.
This is the third reading of ordinance 21-15. Councilwoman Yanatuno.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to ask for immediate passage of ordinance 21-15.
Thank you. We have a motion for the immediate passage of ordinance 21-16. Is there a second? Councilman Leopard.
I'll second the motion, Mr. President.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Councilwoman Yanatuno.
Yes, Mr. President. This project is just trying to even out all the zoning in that area. It's a quite exciting project. It's going to be quite an addition to my 3rd ward. Quite excited about the project. They've shared with me the plans. It's going to be beautiful. And so it's one of 2 projects going on in that area. So quite exciting. We need the housing.
Yes, we do. Any other comments? Seeing none, I'll ask the clerk to call the vote on the passage, please.
Councilman Leopard,
Yes.
Perkins,
Yes.
Perry,
Yes.
Boyle,
Yes.
Illig,
Yes.
Yanatuno,
Yes.
and Jones.
Yes.
Ordinance 21-15 passes with a vote of 7-0.
Ordinance number 21-16, introduced by Daniel Perry. Ordinance amending the zoning map of the city of Tiffin to change the zoning classification of 2 tax parcels of land on St. Francis Avenue, owned by Sisters of St. Francis of Tiffin, Ohio, in the 4th Ward of the city of Tiffin, Ohio.
This is the third reading of ordinance 21-16. Councilman Perry.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. I would like to ask for immediate passage of ordinance 21-16.
We have a motion for the immediate passage of ordinance 21-16. Is there a second, please? Councilman Gillig.
I'd like to second the motion, Mr. President.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, I'll ask the clerk to call the vote, please, on the passage.
Councilman Leopard,
Yes.
Perkins,
Yes.
Perry,
Yes.
Boyle,
Yes.
Gillig,
Yes.
Yanatuno,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
Ordinance 21-16 passes with a vote of 7-0.
Ordinance number 21-17, introduced by Daniel Perry. Ordinance zoning approximately 214.031 acres of land owned by Sisters of St. Francis of Tiffin, Ohio, in the 4th Ward of the city as Zone R4A Multiple Family Residential Agricultural District, compatible with adjacent land use and meeting requirements of Tiffin City Charter and the codified ordinances.
This is the third reading of ordinance 21-17. Councilman Perry.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to ask for immediate passage of ordinance 21-17.
We have a motion for the immediate passage of ordinance 21-17. Is there a second? Councilman Leopard.
I'll second the motion, Mr. President.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, I'll ask the clerk to call the vote, please, on the passage.
Councilman Leopard,
Yes.
Perkins,
Yes.
Perry,
Yes.
Boyle,
Yes.
Gillig,
Yes.
Yanatuno,
Yes.
and Jones.
Yes.
Ordinance 21-17 passes with a vote of 7-0.
Ordinance number 21-22, introduced by Daniel Perry. Ordinance approving hazard pay related to the COVID-19 pandemic for city employees, amending the 2021 budget to appropriate funds for the cost of the hazard pay and declaring an emergency.
This is the second reading of ordinance 21-22.
Ordinance number amended ordinance number 21-29, introduced by Stephen Leopard. Ordinance responding to petition number 104, vacating the alley between Wall Street and Shawn Avenue running north from 2nd Avenue in the 2nd Ward of the city of Tiffin.
This is the second reading of ordinance 21-29.
Amended ordinance number 21-30, introduced by Steve Leopard. Ordinance responding to petitions number 105 and number 106, vacating South Street and Orchard Street, running southwest from Euclid Avenue in the 3rd Ward of the city of Tiffin, Ohio.
This is the second reading of ordinance 21-30.
Amended ordinance number 21-31, introduced by Stephen Leopard. Ordinance responding to petition number 107, vacating North Street, running southwest from Elwood Street between East Davis Street and Douglas Street in the 2nd Ward of the city of Tiffin, Ohio.
This is the second reading of ordinance 21-31.
Ordinance number 21-32, introduced by Steve Leopard. Ordinance approving the removal of traffic signal and installation of stop signs at the intersection of Circular and Main Streets within the city.
This is the first reading of ordinance 21-32.
Ordinance number 21-33, ordinance introduced by Steve Leopard. An ordinance approving the removal of a traffic signal and installation of stop signs at the intersection of Circular and Millmore Streets within the city.
This is the first reading of ordinance 21-33.
Ordinance number 21-34, introduced by Steve Leopard. Ordinance approving the removal of a traffic signal and installation of stop signs at the intersection of North Sandusky and Hall Streets within the city.
This is the first reading of ordinance 21-34.
Ordinance number 21-35, introduced by Steve Leopard. Ordinance approving the removal of a traffic signal and installation of stop signs at the intersection of Coe and Jefferson Streets within the city.
This is the first reading of ordinance 21-35.
Ordinance number 21-36, introduced by Ben Gillig. An ordinance providing for the issuance and sale of $3,155,000 of notes in anticipation of the issuance of bonds for the purpose of improving Progress Parkway and Fair Lane between certain termini and adjacent city property by grading, draining, curbing, paving, constructing sidewalks, curb ramps, sanitary sewers, water lines and storm sewers, and stormwater detention basins, and installing and improving catch basins, fire hydrants, manholes, street lighting and traffic signs, signals and signalization where necessary, in each case together with the necessary appurtenances and work incidental thereto, including certain related and required improvements to US Route 224, County Roads 1 and 54, and Township Road 18, and acquiring real estate and interest in real estate in connection therewith, and declaring an emergency.
This is the first reading of ordinance 21-36.
Ordinance number 21-37, introduced by Daniel Perry. Ordinance amending 2021 budget ordinance number 21-11 to appropriate a donation of $615.83 from the Tiffin Ambets and $25,100 for the purchase of a tractor for the Park and Recreation Department.
This is the first reading of ordinance 21-37. Councilman Perry.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. I would like to ask that we forego council's 3 reading rule and ask for immediate passage of 21-37.
Thank you. We have a motion to suspend council's 3 reading rule for ordinance 21-37 and immediate passage. Is there a second? Councilwoman Boyle.
I'll second, Mr. President.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Councilman Jones.
Thank you, Mr. President. For my benefit and the public's benefit, one is a donation, I understand that, and the other is an expenditure. Why is this not broken into 2 separate ordinances? I guess I'm learning it as I go here, and I'm sure it's been explained to me before, but I guess I'll listen to another time. One's a
Director.
donation, one's an expense.
Yeah, both of them deal with similar items, appropriating funds. Secondly, appropriating funds into the same line item so that there is a commonality between both of those items. And that's why they're together. You know, you have a budget at the beginning of the year where you have items throughout the entire city. and you don't break those out by department or by line item. And in this case, there is some common interest of the items mentioned in the ordinance. They're in there in the title, so it's clear to the public. So it was with that information that I believe that it would be appropriate to include them in one ordinance instead of two.
Okay, thank you for that explanation.
Are there any other questions or comments? Seeing none, I'll ask the clerk to call the vote on the suspension.
Councilman Leopard,
Yes.
Perkins,
Yes.
Perry,
Yes.
Boyle,
Yes.
Gillig,
Yes.
Yanatuno, Councilwoman Yanatuno. Okay, I'm not hearing.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. And Councilman Jones.
Yes.
The suspension passes with a vote of 7-0. We'll now vote on the passage.
Councilman Leopard,
Yes.
Perkins,
Yes.
Perry,
Yes.
Boyle,
Yes.
Gillig,
Yes.
Bye.
that's the best one. Councilwoman Yanatuno
Yes.
and Jones.
Yes.
Ordinance 21-37 passes with a vote of 7-0.
Ordinance number 21-38, introduced by Daniel Perry. Ordinance accepting the petition for annexation of certain territory containing 214.031 acres, more or less, and being part of sections 31 and 32 in Clinton Township to the city of Tiffin.
This is the first reading of ordinance 21-38. Councilman Perry.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would like to ask that we forego the council's 3 reading rule and for immediate passage of ordinance 21-38.
We have a motion to suspend the council's 3 reading rule for ordinance 21-38 and immediate passage of the ordinance. Is there a second? Councilwoman Yanatuno.
Second, Mr. President.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, I'll ask the clerk to call the vote on suspension, please.
Councilman Leopard,
Yes.
Perkins,
Yes.
Perry,
Yes.
Boyle,
Yes.
Gillig,
Yes.
Yanatuno,
Yes.
and Jones.
Yes.
Yeah.
The suspension passes with a vote of 7-0. We'll now vote on the passage.
Councilman Leopard,
Yes.
Perkins,
Yes.
Perry,
Yes.
Boyle,
Yes.
Gillig,
Yes.
Yanatuno,
Yes.
and Jones.
Yes.
Ordinance 21-38 passes with a vote of 7-0.
And that concludes the ordinances, Mr. President.
Thank you. That's the end of our agenda. Does anyone have anything for the good of the order? Councilman Perry.
Yeah, I just wanted to touch on it because we kind of breezed by it earlier. With the traffic signals, I know obviously a lot of concern has been around Hall Street, as Scott mentioned a few meetings ago. I'm not really comfortable with Melmore and Circular myself. Having to take my kid to school that way every morning, Melmore and especially coming on to Melmore from Circular can get pretty hectic, and not having that light would be worrisome to me, and especially in the mornings for the school kids. So I just kind of wanted to kind of throw that out there. I'm not really comfortable with that, removing that light.
Okay. Councilman Perkins.
Yeah, I'm kind of going through the exact same thing. I take that route every single day, taking my kids to school. And I'll get down there to that light and traffic's backed up pretty bad with the light, which, don't get me wrong, is keeping it flowing. But I believe that's going to go to a 2-way stop also. So I'm not sure how I feel about the 2-way stop. I think it might be pretty hard to get out of there, especially with buses and everything else on that route. But I don't know, we'll have to look at it, I guess, as we go.
Thank you. Anyone else? Councilman Leopard.
I plan to look at that as well. I did an 11-hour study on traffic at Hall and Sandusky, and I've had several phone calls about Circular and I'm gonna Circular and Belmore. I'm gonna take a look at that as well.
Okay. Councilman Gillig.
Thank you, Mr. President. I don't have a definitive opinion yet about any of the light changes. The thing that I've been kind of struggling with is, I'm not a traffic flow expert, and the people that did the study are. And I know we have our reservations, and I know we have to take into account the considerations of our constituents, but I would just like everybody to keep that in mind, that we are not traffic flow experts. We engage professionals that are, and we'll just have to factor that into whatever decisions we make.
Good advice. Councilman Jones.
Thank you, Mr. President. I was hoping to touch on ordinance 2134, and I don't want to wait till the third reading, but I got an email today on Hall and North Sandusky Street, taking out that traffic light. At the bottom, it was confidential. I emailed the person back, said I'd be glad to share it with the city council, mayor, et cetera, but since it had confidential, I have to wait to hear from them. I do have a definitive decision on voting no on 2134. And for the first week and a half after I heard the 20-minute presentation by Matt Watson, I thought it made complete sense, but after talking to people and children standing there, talking to the parents, I've changed my opinion. And as city council knows, roughly 175 people have said leave the light in. There's only 3 people, to my knowledge, who have said take the light out. So I want to discuss that in the first reading, not wait until the third reading.
Okay. Anyone else? I have a question from Councilwoman Yanatuno.
On a lighter note, Mr. President, you do a wonderful job. It took a while, but you do a wonderful job of pronouncing my name. And Forrest has always done a wonderful job of pronouncing my name. While you were gone, Ianatuno kept creeping in there. The name is pronounced Ianatuno. I just want to clarify, if it's hard to keep in mind, I like a Y. When I got engaged, we went to Mancy's with the family, and my father-in-law made me say it, pronounce it correctly. And so it is Ianatuno. I appreciate you adapting to that, Mr. President.
Well, thank you. I try. Councilman Leopard.
I somewhat agree with Councilman Gillig's comments on the traffic study, but I think it behooves us all to go out there, take a look at these areas and pay attention and form our own opinions. Just like Hall and Sandusky, I'm seeing much more traffic than we ever saw back in October 28th when the study was done. And, I believe that to be because the pandemic has loosened up so much that the truck traffic, commercial traffic is just totally amazing out on that stretch. And I've formed my opinions, which I'll share, but I will also provide a report to everyone of what I have found. Several things, we've had a lot of complaints from the public in that area that speeders and red light runners. Well, yeah, there's speeders out there, but it's a very small percentage. And the ones that I have been recording are believed to be more than 40 miles per hour. And the red light operations, I probably only, every day that I've been out there, or every hour, I've probably only seen 1 or 2 that if I were a police officer, I would cite myself. The other 4 or 5 that go through there is, I'd give them a pass on it. But I think it behooves us all to go out, spend just a little bit of time, take a look at things. Like I said, I've heard complaints from Melmore and Circular, and I want to see them for myself. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Councilman Gillig.
Councilman Leopard, will your next study be Melmore and Circular?
Yes.
So you can, shall we take camp chairs and sandwiches and?
Well, I sit
Make
in
an
my
afternoon
truck.
of it.
I sit in my truck with a bottle of water and count.
I can bring the party bike over, Steve.
Hey, there we go.
Do it that way.
Mayor Mons.
Yeah, I just want to say I appreciate council doing so much work on all of these traffic studies. I know it's been interesting to go through all of these different traffic signals and discuss them. And even from an administration standpoint, we've kind of ceded the fact that the Hall in Sandusky is likely not to pass, and we can completely understand that. But we are 100% confident on the other three and the necessity of their removal. And I really hope council thinks long and hard about this, to remember what the experts have told us. And I can remember a couple of times in my time that I've been mayor that we've had serious accidents at that Circular and Melmore intersection, for example. We've had a couple of rollover accidents because people are on Circular, they stop at the series of stop signs, and then all of a sudden there's a traffic signal there and they're not expecting it. And we've had a couple of times that cars, one of them I can still recall, that was rolled over, snapped the telephone pole and everything. So I really think council needs to think long and hard about these other three intersections and do what the study shows will improve safety as well as traffic flow when it comes down to these other three intersections. We need to, they're on state routes, or at least the one at Melmore and Circular is. The day is going to come when ODOT comes through and does their own study, and they're going to tell us to remove the signal or start paying for the whole thing yourself also. So there's just so many reasons, most of which is safety and traffic flow. The experts say it should go. And at some point, there's going to also be an increased cost of this. And I would hate for somebody to be killed at that intersection and us to be sitting here with proof in our hands that that light should be taken out, but we didn't want to because we all thought we were smarter than the experts. I don't want to be that person that has to tell somebody, well, we knew it should have come down. We have all the proof in the world, but we're going to sit here and say otherwise. And that one keeps me up at night because I've seen firsthand some of the accidents we've had in my time as mayor at that intersection.
I would also encourage all of you, if you have questions, it's a good idea to talk to the city engineer. He's a storehouse of knowledge, and he's got some explanations on things, and I think we need to hear those explanations again. So, Councilman Perry.
Yeah, and the only thing to add too is talking to Engineer Watson, if some of these are, the rest of the 3 or 4 get passed, the process in which they go about removing the signal is a 6 to 9 month process too. So if we feel like we had made a mistake or need to reverse one of them, we can look at that down the line too. So it's not like the signal's just going to come down day one. So I think there is some leeway if we do approve some of these signals too.
Thank you. Anything else? Councilwoman Yanatuno.
Councilman Leopard, when you were checking out the Hall Sandusky Street one, did you do any studying at Hudson Street area? Muted, Steve.
Yeah, no, I haven't been down there. Just been concentrating at Hall and North Sandusky.
Because a lot of times people don't keep in mind that light heavily affects the traffic flow at Hudson. It makes Hudson extremely dangerous. It makes it very difficult to get out because you're finally clear from the bridge side, and then all of a sudden the traffic is all jammed up at that light and you're still stuck there, and then people take all these risks to get across that intersection. So there's more going on to that. I lived in that area for 16 years. There's more going on at that light than people realize. I know they're concerned about backing out and stuff, but people try to beat that light all the time from both sides. And the Hudson Street thing is a big deal there, and it does really hinder traffic flow there.
One thing that I've noticed, with the exception of the 7 to 8 o'clock hour, you have roughly 124 vehicles going through that light every 11 minutes. And I'm afraid that if we take that light out, Hudson's gonna be a demolition derby without having a break in there.
Anyone else? The mayor asked for our input on meeting in person in June. I question for the mayor, are we going to be up to snuff with our technology that we can do that?
Yeah, we should be, Mr. President. We've had a couple of meetings with the IT folks to ensure that we're good to go, and I think we'll be good. We won't know for certain until we go live, but that is the goal, is to continue to, in perpetuity, broadcast these meetings on Facebook. There no longer will be a Zoom option when we go back to in person. But they will be broadcast on Facebook. And the reason that we can't do the Zoom is because I run the Zoom meetings here, and I can't be running back and forth between one computer to keep things on Facebook, another on Zoom. It's too much. And once we go back to in person, public comment has to be in person, of course, as well. So yeah, we're going to continue to do these on Facebook, and our hope is that never ends. And then they'll also be placed on our website, et cetera, because transparency is important, and we want the public to have full access to what we're discussing at all times.
Okay. Well, I'd like a motion that it's our intent to meet live in our chambers with our first meeting in June 7th. Councilwoman Boyle.
Make that motion.
Thank you. Is
Mr.
there a
President.
second? Councilman Perry.
Yeah, I'll second the motion.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, I'll ask for a show of hands. All those in favor of the motion, raise your hand. I see 7 hands up, so it's unanimous. Actually 8. Very good. Is there anything else? Anything else? All right, good meeting tonight. Keep up the good work. I love all the comments, all your hard work. God bless all of you. Have a safe week, and we'll see you. Good night.
See you guys.